Welcome to Thieves' Cant, a tabletop gaming podcast with your hosts, Jeremy Shane and Chris White.
Welcome back and welcome in to Thieves' Cant. I'm Jeremy Shane.
And I'm Chris White.
It is Saturday, April 26th. Glad to have you with us as always. Chris, how's life?
It's great. Everything is going so well.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How about them Blues?
Let's go Blues. Yeah, that's probably why I'm feeling so good. Coming off a win.
Off a win. Still down in the series to a very good Winnipeg team, but...
hey, things could turn around. This could be it.
Now, we have ourselves a series.
That's right.
Hey, coming up in today's episode, if you were taking a course on RPG design, what might the required reading list look like? Well, Justin Alexander at the Alexandrian answers that question for us. In our main segment, we're going to make some wishes for our ideal 6E. Too soon? Yeah, it's too soon, but we're doing it anyway. But first, let's jump into the news. All right, Greater Than Games, a notable board game publisher, announced it is halting operations and laying off much of its staff. This was reported by Goonhammer on the 22nd. The company says they will focus on shipping existing products, but has suspended all upcoming projects. This is a tough one to hear about.
Yeah.
You never like to see this.
Yeah, you hate to hear this about any company. So you certainly wish everyone the best over there, and hopefully they can find new opportunities and employment soon.
Greater Than Games, based out of St. Louis, Missouri. One of their bigger name games that I'm familiar with is the Sentinels of the Multiverse deck building game. You're building a deck for your superhero, and then cooperatively with the other players, you use your deck to take down the big bad guy. Worth a look if you want to find yourself a copy and find a way to maybe support Greater Than Games. It's just sad to me to see, I mean, obviously on the human level, whenever folks lose their jobs, but, you know, when we're talking games, like dreams are kind of going away here too, you know.
That's very true.
Good times around the table, a dream of a fun game. I would like to see those come back. So throw some support towards Greater Than Games. Well, the 5.2 SRD is officially in the wilds, in the Creative Commons. Did you get a chance to take a look? This came out on the 22nd.
I took a very brief look.
Yeah?
Yeah, I just glanced over it.
First impressions?
Pretty standard stuff. There's a lot there. I mean, it's not a small document.
No, it's robust. 361 pages. I think pound for pound it's shorter, or I guess I could say page for page, shorter than the 5.1 SRD. But it's not incomplete. All of the classes and species core to the 2024 Player's Handbook are in the doc. One subclass then for every class. Nearly 100 pages of monsters, which is awesome. All the feats, all the items, both mundane and magical. And, of course, the spell listings. I think this is great. Class descriptions contain full spell lists for that class. And then later in the spell descriptions chapter, each spell will note which class has access to it. This is such a smarter design and layout approach than what we've seen previously, where those spell lists are just kind of included in the spell description chapter. This is a much more convenient way to access information.
It's actually usable.
Right.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Change of pace.
So that's the 5.2 SRD officially in the Creative Commons. As we mentioned last time, we expect now to see a boatload of third-party content now coming for 2024 D&D from third parties.
And I think they need it. I think there's a pretty good demand for more content coming forward for 2024. So I still have trouble saying that.
Yeah.
It's like I wish we could have come up with something a little catchier.
Yeah.
It's bulky.
Well, and it bothers me that, we got the Player's Handbook in 2024, but, the core book releases didn't finish until 2025. Right. So Do we call that 2025 D&D?
Looks like a hockey season, right? So it's the 24-25 D&D edition. You got to split it up.
I like 5e2e.
Yeah. Yeah. 5e2e.
Hey, not a news item per se, but super interesting from Justin Alexander over on the Alexandrian. Now, he actually posted this back on the 11th. I just now saw this in the latest round of MT Black's 10 Cool Things, which is an amazing newsletter that I recommend you sign up for. MT Black sends you 10 cool things every week, compiled in one convenient spot. This happened to be on the list this week. So on the Alexandrian, Justin poses the question, if you were teaching an intro-level college class on role-playing game design, what would be the reading list? He states that he's going to design this as a survey or history course. All right, so that's kind of the parameters that he puts forward for himself. So his reading list is as follows, and you tell me if you think this will do the trick for your college course on RPG design. Mm-hmm. He says you got to start with D&D 1974, followed up by Traveller 1977, then GURPS or Champions. The 80s editions. He's going to pick one of those. So maybe that changes from semester to semester just to keep it fresh. Paranoia First Edition, then followed by Vampire the Masquerade, Amber Diceless Role Playing, Burning Wheel, Apocalypse World, and then wrapping up with the WotC era of D&D, 3rd edition, 4th edition, and 5th edition. And that completes the reading list.
I thought this was really interesting. I would like to take this course immediately.
Oh, I would love to take the course, right?
He starts with D&D 74, obviously. That's sort of the origin, right? I mean, that's sort of where tabletop RPGs as we understand them now have come to be. Traveller was really interesting because it was, as he puts it, it's that first response to D&D. It's where you first get science fiction introduced in that format. And then, with GURPS and Champions, it really introduces this idea of a generic RPG system, but also this idea of, a simulation, an accurate simulation, and trying to do that. So, this was really, really well thought out. And then he goes on to, Vampire, which is a completely different beast, so to speak. It has that idea of the storytelling.
Sure.
Being the focus. And he has his omissions list as well, where he talks about the things I didn't put in.
Right.
And would have liked to, but it's...
Yeah, some of the things that he touches on there, notable absences, Fate and other storytelling games like Once Upon a Time or 10 Candles. He says RPGs in a box, games that aren't really RPGs, but are certainly in the same design space like Gloomhaven, Descent, Arkham Horror. And then, of course, to me, the big one, the snub, if you will, Call of Cthulhu, not on the list. But he says, my goal wasn't most important RPGs. He says Call of Cthulhu is easily top 5 in that category. He says it was introduction to RPG game design. He says that there are things that he could use Call of Cthulhu to teach, but not enough hooks to knock off other games from the list. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. A lot of these games he lists, these are games that introduced almost a whole new genre, and Cthulhu's huge, but, I don't know that there were elements that a lot of that was borrowed and brought into Cthulhu.
Sure.
Rather than the innovation itself. But, all of these are great for study. I'm a novice, but I'm in some ways getting to a point now where I almost find the design of RPGs is just as interesting as playing the games themselves,
Yeah, anybody who's got a collection of RPG books has plenty that they know they'll never actually get to the table, but we collect them because we want to spend time with the mechanics and draw inspiration from them that way.
It's one of those things where you, if you could make a wish and change something or make the game different based on your intense understanding of how RPGs are put together, if you had such a intense understanding. It's like that. Was that subtle?
Well, you can't lay down a better segue than that. So, speaking of wishes, we will leave behind the Alexandrian and move on to our main topic. In our main topic this week, we are making wishes. And this stems from a thread over on InWorld. In fact, it's the Jeremy Crawford is leaving WotC thread, which, if you have opened this thing and plumbed your way through the
about 900 pages now,
close to 80 pages, then congratulations, you deserve some sort of a badge, like a little, you've unlocked an achievement.
Yeah.
That thread got wild. We were so far out in the weeds. There was a lot of talk about whether D&D is or can be innovative. I thought this was an interesting thread of discussion. Is D&D bound by its legacy so tightly that it's not allowed to innovate, to be creative, to bring new things to the table? A lot of sentiment on both sides. One particular side is arguing that those sacred cows prevent innovation, that D&D fandom itself stops Wizards of the Coast from bringing innovation into the game. What's your response to that?
4E.
You pointing directly to 4th edition?
I think so.
Sure.
I think 4E. I think 4th edition was great. I really do. But I think 4E defied player expectations for what Dungeons and Dragons is. I think if 4E had been labeled something else, marketed well, it could have been a success. There were some really good ideas that came out of, and some were even applied to 5th edition. But it did not meet people's expectation of what a D&D game should be. And that is already sort of etched in stone. It doesn't mean things are unchangeable. I think D&D players want change. Well, they want improvement. Can they change the game fundamentally? Well, if they do, it's not D&D anymore. So I don't know. This is an interesting question.
So this whole discussion, that little thread of a thread, got us to thinking probably way too early about what would we like to see in a potential 6th edition of D&D. We have 3 wishes apiece, and we can spend them how we choose. So the question is, are we going to wish for something new? Are we going to wish for simple improvements? Or are we going to wish for a Sacred Cow repackaged?
First of all, that's a great band name. Sacred Cow repackaged. We are. Wow. That's good. I can go first.
All right.
I'm going to steal one of yours, and I know I am.
Okay.
So I'm going to go first.
All right.
More artwork with bikini armor. That was actually my... I know you wanted that one,
Bring back the chainmail bikini.
Okay, no, that's not true. The Monster Manual. Again, I'm going to reference 4th edition. And you know it well because you DM'd all. I didn't DM 4th edition. You did. But,
yeah.
I mean, so you're very familiar with this topic. Yeah, the Monster Manual needs to be overhauled.
Okay, like specifically.
It's just not easy.
Okay.
It's not easy. It wasn't easy in 5e, and I don't think they've done enough to improve it in 2024.
Okay, so we just talking like stat blocks, the way they're formatted,
yes.
The information they contain?
Yes. I mean, you had to me, you had the perfect template in 4E. It was simple. All of those monster abilities were easy to put in. It wasn't as distracting. It wasn't over multiple pages generally. It was compact. It was precise. And it was everything you needed to control combat and to tell that story. I'm curious what you think about it, though.
That is on my wish list. So I'll wish for that as well and make it a super wish.
Okay.
All right, if we're both wishing for it.
Okay, super wish.
It has to come true. Yeah, I did, in fact, put on my wish list to bring back 4E-style monster stat blocks. Remove spell names from the stat block, or keep the spell name. Just don't have me looking up the spell in a separate book.
Right.
I want all the information I need to run this monster on that stat block. Everything I need should be right there. I don't want to reference anything else.
One-stop shop. Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, so that would be my first wish as well. All right, I'll throw out a wish. We agree on that first one.
You're casting wish.
I am casting wish. And my next wish is, it's related to that stat block, but now I'm talking the entire encounter spread.
Yes. Yes.
Bring back 2-page encounter spreads so that not only is everything I need to run this monster in that stat block, everything I need to run the encounter, including those stat blocks, is open in front of me across 2 pages. Now, I know this is not a big deal if you homebrew everything, right? But if you are using published material, the 2-page spread is a lifesaver at the table. It makes your life as a GM that much easier. And even if you are a homebrewer, whenever I homebrew and I'm designing an encounter, guess what I'm doing? I'm setting it up across a simple 2-page spread.
Yes.
It's a great design.
Well, yeah, and this is my question. When you set up an encounter, you know what's happening, but what you want is the information you need in that moment available to you in the simplest format that it can be presented in. So where is the disconnect with these officially launched products that they cannot do the same thing? Why are they so convoluted with things I don't need in the moment to run this?
Your GM base, that is your largest base of customers. I think you need to spoil them. You need to give the GM some love and make their job as easy as it can be.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to make that a super wish because I had Encounter Builder and Cleaner Adventures in there, and I think it all is coming back to that same point.
It's under the same umbrella.
Simplify, clean it up, make this easy for the DM. They got enough to do.
Well, so far, it's all about presentation. We're not really speaking about mechanics. We're not wishing for new classes, more subclasses. This is all about presentation. This is interesting to me. You want to throw out the next one?
Does that count? If I make it a super wish, was that one of my wishes? I need to know the rules.
Are you trying to weasel?
I'm
going to
put you back in that bottle if you don't tell me what's going on. I need some rules.
I think if you made it a super wish, I think that's a wish.
That's a wish. So I'm 2 wishes in.
And we're both 2 wishes in.
Okay.
All right. We're down to 1 wish apiece.
Okay. For me, D&D Beyond, how that's handled and how it ties into a lot of the mechanics, I think that needs to change. I mean, obviously, I am, since WotC bought Beyond, we've lost things like the ability to purchase items a la carte, which was spectacular.
Right.
I loved it.
Yeah.
That was a big point for me. And I think it's discouraged me from making purchases. And I wonder if it's done to other people as well. If I want the subclasses out of the new book, but I'm not interested in the spells or anything else, it's not hard for me to drop $5 on the subclasses.
Sure.
But I'm not going to drop $30 for the whole book. I don't own the DMG on Beyond, but, to me it's been very frustrating with character creation being limited to the backgrounds that are in the player's handbook, which is probably a wish I'm just skirting in here for the sake of doing it. But
I think your blanket wish here is an overhaul of D&D Beyond and maybe a return to its original form.
Well, yes, but that's just one example, again, where customization is buried in the DMG. And so if I don't own the DMG, I can't customize the background of the character in their program.
Yeah.
So and I think most people, that's why they have Beyond. It's to play with characters, to get their characters created, put them on a sheet, make it easy. And I think it just feels like, the paywalls, lack of updates. There are still a lot of systems that aren't upgraded, spells or abilities that don't function correctly. So I would like to see an overhaul and a more fan-friendly approach to the way Beyond is is being conducted.
I support this wish. I support it. As someone who has been more of a player than a DM in the 5e era, I hear you loud and clear. All right. My last wish. I'm talking about challenge rating. I need challenge rating to go away, die a lonely death.
Okay, so explain more like how that might work.
Well, I mean, the end of the day, you're going to tell me just to go play 4th edition, and I will be happy to do so. But I want it 4th edition style where, you know, a level 5 party, if you want a quote-unquote balanced encounter, should be matched up against a level 5 foe.
No, I agree. The challenge rating system has been bad in the past. I know they have made some changes in the DFG. I know it goes through and explains a little bit about how they've cleaned that up to try to balance it. I think they recognize that there's a problem there. But yeah, it's almost feels like this arbitrary number sometimes is thrown on. I know they have a way that they calculate it, but I would agree. I mean, it just makes simplify the whole thing. And this goes back to the original wish that we had is, yeah, just make it easier. Let me look at a glance and say, hey, I got a 4th level party. I want to make this a tough fight. Okay, I'm going to throw a 5 or 6 at them. There we go. You know, and have some sort of appendices that breaks those down. You know, every level. Hey, I got a 4th level party. I need a challenge. What do we got here? Oh, well, you know, I could throw a couple mummies. It's very helpful.
That's where I'm at. I just want things to be easy and tidy and make sense in my little pea brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So taking our wishes into account as a whole, I don't think we've wished for anything terribly offensive. I don't think that this would offend the sensibilities of your D&D purists. I don't think we've slaughtered any sacred cows here.
Well, that's what's funny about wishes. We're going to walk out of the studio and find that all of creation has fallen into oblivion. It's just a swirling mass of destruction because we made our wishes wrong.
Yeah, sometimes those wishes do get twisted. I got a little surprise. Speaking of twisted wishes.
Oh, really? Is it a metal bikini?
I'll be right back.
Oh, no.
No, I've got a surprise edition of The Lowdown.
Oh, really?
The Lowdown.
No, I think the idea of wishes gone wrong is kind of funny. So I wanted to throw that question out to the internet. So that is exactly what I asked. What is your best or worst experience with a wish spell gone wrong?
This should be good.
I've got just a handful to share. Bird Snoozer over on Reddit says, when I was 14, playing AD&D 2nd edition, and can we just pause right there for 1 second? Because, first of all, 14 years old, playing some 2E.
Yeah.
Does anything sound better than that right now?
No.
That sounds great.
It does.
That's magic. But he says, I got a ring with 3 wishes, and stupid me wished for $1 million. Okay, well, this is exactly what a 14-year-old would wish for, right? $1 million.
I might wish for that.
I mean,
right now.
Right? So they go on. A leather box with a handle appeared, locked shut. I forced the lock open and found 1 million rectangles of green paper with strange writing on them. Mm-hmm. The GM said, these do not look like the gold, silver, or copper that's used to buy things in your world. Wish gone wrong.
Yeah. Wasted.
I don't know, though. Should the fact that, like, by this DM's logic, the PC would have never uttered the word dollar in the first place.
Yeah.
If it's not of that world. So does the GM in cases like this have some level of responsibility to clarify rather than screw over?
Maybe. But I think the better move is just to suddenly, for this guy to find himself overrun with a gigantic herd of male deer. And chaos ensues.
Absolutely. Pigeon IDK writes, we came across a djinn, and due to our cleric's interventions, everyone in our party got a single wish, including the animals.
Oh.
He says, my mule wished to be able to carry anything, no matter how heavy. She can now only carry one single thing at any time, no matter the weight. So she can't wear a saddle and have a rider.
Wow.
Or tow our wagon anymore unless it's completely empty.
Wow.
But she theoretically could carry an immovable rod. So,
wow.
Now
she could carry a mountain.
Right.
That's great. That is fun.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
The horse wished he was invulnerable, and he is now.
Wow.
That sounds absurd, but really, what are the implications actually of an invulnerable horse? I mean, what could you do with this thing?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah. This thing doesn't charge the gate. This thing is the battering ram at the gate. Yeah.
The bear cub we were nursing back to health just wished for pets, and the djinn gave him all the belly rubs and head pats and even a big-ass salmon, just because he's a cute little bear and the GM couldn't resist.
Wow.
That's fun.
Yeah. Okay.
One of the characters' wish was to make a warlock pact with the djinn, so there's that too. Oh, now that's the kicker right there.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
Have you ever used a wish spell in a game or seen one gone terribly wrong, Chris?
I am always very cautious when making wishes. It's a process. Pretty much the game stops, and we all start, looking up lawyer documentation.
Leave no loopholes.
Yeah. I mean, we did have a guy, this is the honest truth. He thought he was being cute, and he did literally say, make me a ham sandwich. And he did. He turned into a ham sandwich.
On rye?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've had, I'm trying to think of specific examples, but we have had I do recall a lot of wishes going bad. There's so much DM discretion, especially in older editions of how to interpret these wishes. If you have a DM that's particularly clever, you might be better off just not taking that opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, one more. This one from Tange Redshirt. Now, Chris, Tange here has contributed a short script for us to close with. Just a few lines.
Okay.
One last wish. So thank you, Tange Redshirt, for this delightful morsel of theater from your gaming past. Chris, I'm going to let you play the role of the player. I'll be the GM. Okay?
Okay. I wish for total control of all reality.
Oh, cool. Well, here's the DMG and DM screen. I'll roll up a character to play.
Wait. What? No.
Hey, do Tabaxi exist in your world, or maybe Kinder?
Oh.
That is a wish gone wrong.
Oh, he walked into that. That's no good.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us on Thieves Can't. What are your wishes for the potential 6E? And we know they are way too soon wishes, but we're having some fun. You can reach out to us on social at Thieves Can't Cast. We're on YouTube at Thieves Can't Podcast. And you can email, of course, thievescan'tcast@gmail.com. Chris, next week, we are staring at episode 10. Well, it's a big one.
10. It feels like 15. It probably wouldn't be so bad if you weren't wearing that metal bikini in here right now. So,
well, it's a nice day, and I want to be ready for some sun.
You gotta have the air circulating just right.
Hey, we will see you next time. Episode 10 is just around the corner. Until then, happy gaming. For Chris, I'm Jeremy. This has been Thieves Can't. So long.
Thank you for listening to Thieves Can't. Email thievescan'tcast@gmail.com.